Have you ever encountered a hurdle with launching or growing your business? Listen, there are two things that run a business, the back end and your soft skills.
Telling you right now, if these aren't in place, you'll lose clients and you'll lose money. You don't want that? Well, you're in the right place.
Hey, I'm Dana.
Hey, I'm Sarah.
We're your hosts of the Entrepreneur Encounter, and we're going to give you a behind-the-scenes glance into our businesses, give you genuine feedback, tips and tricks, plus occasionally bring on guests that care about supporting you to grow your business organically and nurturing authentic relationships. Are you ready?
Do you ever feel like your creativity gets lost in the hustle of entrepreneurship? Or like the thing you once loved now feels like a burden? You're not alone. Today, we dive into what it really means to create not just for your business, but for ourselves. Our guest shares his journey through creativity, entrepreneurship, mental health, and how all is often more connected than we realize. If this conversation sparks your desire to strengthen your own soft skills, we invite you to check out our Soft Skills Studio, a space where purpose-driven entrepreneurs like you gain practical tools to lead confidently and communicate effectively. You'll find the link in the show notes to learn more and join our growing community. Now let's get to the episode.
Hi, Mike. Welcome to the show. I'm super excited to catch up with you again. Would you like to take a few minutes to just introduce yourself and a little bit more about you?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate being here this morning and being able to have this conversation with you. My name is Mike Brennan, and I say that I am a creator and communicator who tells stories on pages and stages. And then people go, cool, what does that mean? And so I say on the creator side, my background is graphic design. Went to school for that in art school, worked in the field, huge advertising agencies, New York City, to small mom and pop shops, everything in between. And I still do that, but now for my own clients. So branding, logos, marketing materials, stuff like that. I also do illustration and fine art, some of the stuff that you may see behind me here. And that is really more me exploring my passions and the things I'm connected to. And I really love to take what I experience and translate that into some artwork to give other people an experience. That may look like a variety of different things. It may look like pop culture things. It may look like location-based art and many other forms, but it's always that at the heart. And on the communicator side, I talk about creativity and fun and also mental health weaved in there because that's part of my own journey and story. And I always look to, again, take the things that I've experienced and then extrapolate something that I feel like is applicable for other people, no matter where they are on their journey or what they're experiencing, what their context is, kind of like those universal themes. It just so happens to show up in the context of my story, but someone can kind of listen and glean those things and apply for themselves. And then I have a podcast myself called Creative Chats, and I create resources for other creative people and creators. And just to FYI, I believe we may not all be artistic, but we are all creative. So I love equipping people to be able to have resources so that they're showing up creating, whether it's a business, whether it's a book, whether it's a piece of art, music, the life that they want to live. They feel like they have some resources in their hands and some inspiration and application points. So that's me.
Okay, when we talk about creativity, oftentimes people think, oh, I can't draw. Well, it's not just that, or I can't write poems or whatever you think of when you think of creativity, because I myself enjoy writing flash fiction. That's my hobby. That's what brings me joy. But when we talk about our business, how is that creative? You're building something from the ground up. How amazing is that? That is creativity right there. Yeah. Like you are creating this whole thing that nobody else created.
Yeah. And I think that's where people don't often think about it in those terms, because it's like, well, this is business. And the other thing is like, that's like play. That's like hobby. That's when on the weekend, maybe I'll do something that maybe fall into the category of creative. But it's like, if we're making things and we're making something that wasn't there before and now it is there, that's creativity. Because we have to problem solve. We have to think about these things in a way that goes, okay, I have a vision for something. I see something in my mind, or I have a desire to create something. Now I need to figure out, how do I do this? Mm-hmm. And then we go about either researching, we look to other models of people and things, we learn some new skill sets, whatever it is that we have to do. We do those things in pursuit of, I want to make that thing and make it a reality.
I like that. I very much appreciate pointing out that you don't have to be artistic. And like Sarah was saying, creating a business, even from a very logistical viewpoint, you can't just wait for people to come and find you. You have to create opportunities to share your elevator pitch, or you don't just go to a networking event and stand in the corner and wait until they show up. No, I'm calling myself out, but maybe your first time you awkwardly turn red and blush through your whole elevator pitch. But then you go again and you create another elevator pitch and you create more confidence and you get better. And now people are magnetized to you to learn more about who you are, what you do, and how you serve people. But you had to create that opportunity. You had to create the time to go and do that. You had to create a schedule that you could stick with. So like myself, I'm balancing kids' schedules, multiple kids' schedules, and trying to do the whole 6 figures and school time hours. And so my calendar is supposed well-oiled machine, but I had to create that schedule that worked for me so I can grow my business and still be a mom. And that is a work in progress, but I couldn't just sit here and do nothing.
Yeah, it's having agency over yourself and over your time and realizing we have more power, more responsibility than we often give ourselves credit for. So often, especially when we're starting out, typically we're working for somebody else. I mean, even if it's you were younger, your first job wasn't necessarily like, okay, I've started my own business. I mean, I get like kids with lemonade stands and things like that aside, right? But the context at which we understand work a lot of times is in, I have a role in a company. I have a job description and I have certain metrics I need to hit and whatever that looks like. There's a lot of things that we don't have to worry about because somebody else is worrying about those things. And so I think what ends up happening is then when we find ourselves on our own, trying to create our own business, we're kind of floundering because we don't have the context for that other side. We're used to just kind of being very narrowly focused. And things like time management, like you said, figuring out how do I wear all these hats and do all these things and make sure that things are happening when they're supposed to happen, who they're supposed to happen with, and all the things. And you don't really get to understand that until you dive into that fully. And then it's keep showing up. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to fail. You're going to have to refine. And I think to your point, just like in networking, you have to get out there. You have to keep showing up. And that's really what I think all this is about. It's keep showing up, keep doing the work, refine, revise, pivot if you need to, but just keep going because you can't really do what you need to do in a vacuum because you won't have the experience, you won't have data points, you won't have anything to say, here's where this is going. Is this on track? Is this matching the vision that's in my head without actually doing the work?
I think that's great advice for entrepreneurs, no matter what stage they're in, that are struggling with being resourceful, because life is always going to throw unexpected hurdles at you, probably on the daily.
Always.
So for those that are in this season of just life is life in, how do you help or suggest they stay inspired while managing the demands of a growing business?
I think it comes down to intentionality because, again, just like you said, no one's going to do things for you. No one's going to make things happen for you. The same is with feeling inspired and the side of the work that isn't just nose to the grindstone and go and check all the boxes and be as productive as you can be. You need the other side of when am I dreaming? When am I pouring into myself to be inspired, to look around, to pick my head up out of, instead of just working in it constantly, how am I working on it? And so that I can actually start to see some things that I wouldn't see otherwise. Because most of the time, I think we treat it just like we treat ourselves in any pursuit that it feels a little bit like more personal to us, which is to say, when I've done everything for everybody else, then I'll turn to myself and take care of the things that are mine to take care of. And that is a terrible strategy because we probably can know this in advance before I even say this, but everybody else's stuff is never fully taken care of. So we never, ever get to the point where we're dealing with the things that are important to us. And whether that's self-care, whether that's carving out time for inspiration so that we have some things that are challenging us and causing us to think new thoughts and elevating the internal conversation of what it is that we're trying to do. That stuff's not going to happen on its own. And while we may have fits and spurts of some things, because maybe we go to a networking event or maybe we read a book or maybe we have a certain experience, kind of wandering into that is not a great strategy. And so what I would suggest is put something on your calendar where you actually carve out some time, and it doesn't have to be long. I think it could be even like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, maybe. Maybe there's a certain part of a lunch hour or when everyone goes to bed at night or in the morning before everybody's up, whatever that looks like for you and your rhythms. Just mark that time as your time to go, okay, I'm going to go looking for some inspiration, or I'm going to purposefully and intentionally make this time about pouring into myself, pouring into the vision, pouring into the passion, and staying connected with myself as I'm trying to build the thing that I'm building, because we can get lost so easily.
Oh, most definitely. We can get lost in so much. I like to write. I need pen and paper, right? So if I'm not working, I have a notebook with me, so I carry it with me. I know people say, like, put the notes in your phone, but it's that physical, let me write it down.
Yeah.
And so, like, when inspiration hits, I can just write it and just let my words flow. To me, that's easy. Everybody has their own way of doing things. Like, when inspiration hits, note it. When you're talking about self-care, go outside if that's what you'd like to do. And then I believe if you step away from your computer, your desk, that's when inspiration hits, right? So like every time I have writer's block, I'm like, I need to go somewhere else and get away from everything else.
Yeah, change up your environment, because when you have a new experience, you'll have new thoughts.
I love feeding off of the energy of some like other people if I'm having a block of something or I'm questioning. So I think it was at the end of last year, I joined a collaborative co-working space. It wasn't just any of them. Like, I tested a few and I just found one where the environment, even though, I mean, we get together once a week and have like a masterclass where we do talk and learn from each other, but just being in the space and hearing them working on things and what they're focused on and their next steps just kind of feeds into me like, okay, this is right. This is good. Maybe I tweak it a little bit based on what they're saying, but it helps me tap into my creativity just by gaining their energy and momentum, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. It's funny, I'm finding myself, because I just moved to a new area. I just moved to the Nashville area in September. So I'm out actively pursuing networking opportunities and all sorts of meetups. And I'm, again, having to be very intentional about that, because I'm like, no one's going to come knock on my door and invite me to some things. They don't even know I'm here. They don't even know who I am. So going out and getting among people, and to your point, even when you talk with people and realize like, oh, maybe somebody's struggling with the same thing I'm struggling with, and I'm hearing about how they're dealing with it or how they have dealt with it. Just a sense of remembering that you're not alone, because so much of the time, especially when you're starting out and you're the quote solopreneur, it's just you, and it's lonely and it's isolating. And if you don't put yourself out there in places where other people are doing some things and hear about what they're doing, hear about how they're doing it, it can suddenly feel like everything is turned inward too much. And then that's when I think things can go sideways pretty quickly, either in mental health, in your thoughts, in trying to even figure out some problem solving, because you don't have that sounding board. You're just trying to do it all yourself, and you can only go so far by yourself. It's so much better if you can link arms with somebody else. And that could look like a variety of different things, but I think it's at least engaging with that, making sure you make time and make that an important part of your weekly schedule, or however often that you're able to do that.
I think that's why Dan and I work so well together. Everybody knows we have never met in person, but like, it's really cool to be able to have these conversations with each other and get inspiration from each other, because like you were saying, like, it can be lonely if you don't find your people and you don't go to networking events and all those things. Like, okay, well, who do I speak to? I could speak to myself, but I would like to speak to somebody that has been in that situation before, has experienced it in some way, so that we can exchange ideas, help each other out. Oh, you're working on this? What about doing this way? Or whatever the case may be, because having those conversations is going to help you grow, I believe.
Yeah.
Hey there, listeners. Ever feel like you're struggling to connect with customers or lead your team effectively? That's where soft skills come in.
Entrepreneur Encounter isn't just another podcast. We're a community dedicated to helping early stage entrepreneurs like you master the soft skills that make or break a business.
Technical skills are important, but without communication, collaboration, and confidence, your business might never get off the ground to the next level.
In our membership, Dana and I share actionable insights and tips to help you nurture the soft skills you need to thrive.
Give you access to bonus content, workshops, and a network of like-minded entrepreneurs who are all on the same journey.
We'll teach you how to boost your confidence,
Become a leader who inspires and motivates your team,
navigate conflict like a pro,
to resolve disagreements without drama and build stronger relationships,
communicate clearly and concisely, get your message across, build trust, and close the deal.
If you're ready to take your business to the next level, join the circle by clicking the link in the show notes. So when we first connected, you have the creative playbook for making life and work fun again. For those that were tapping into creativity, how can entrepreneurs keep the joy in their passion? Because a lot of us took our passions, our hobbies, and made it a business. So how can you keep the joy in that passion after it becomes a business?
Yeah. And the main title of that is actually Make Fun a Habit. That's the subtitle that you read there. But yes, that's okay. It's this thought of, again, being intentional, doing things on purpose, and making fun a habit sounds like a weird phrase because you're like, what does that even mean? But it's this, I'm choosing joy. I'm choosing to look for maybe things that wouldn't necessarily be fun at face value, but I'm looking for the fun. And really what that means is enjoyment. So I don't know anybody who doesn't want to enjoy their work. I don't know anybody who doesn't want to enjoy their life. They're like, no, I'm good. I have enough enjoyment. I have enough fun. I have enough passion. That's fine. Everybody's always looking for more because things are so dark and heavy, especially these days. And in terms of taking something that you have a passion for, turning it into your business, completely understand that. And I often give this example and I'm like, imagine you go to this favorite restaurant of yours and you're like, this place is amazing. Like, I love coming to this place. I love the food. I love the atmosphere, everything about it. I just love it. And you're like, how could I love this more? I know. I'll get a job there. So you get a job there and suddenly you're not in the dining room anymore. Now you're in the kitchen and you're seeing things that are going on behind the scenes that you had no idea that were going on all the while. And now it has changed your experience with the place. And you could never go back to being just a patron because you know too much. You've experienced too much. And I think that's what happens a lot of times with us when we go, I've got this thing I'm very passionate about. Maybe it started out as a hobby or just a strong interest. And I'm like, I know this would be amazing if I made this into a business. And so we do that. And then we often kill the thing that we were once in love with because we've made it something other than it being something we're passionate about. We've attached money to it, which brings pressure and expectations. We've attached clients and outside voices. We've attached all these things into it that can certainly wear away at our love for it. And sometimes, unfortunately, make it into something that feels more like a prison as opposed to a passion. And I think it's hard to know that on the front end. Sometimes we just have to experience these things and then kind of pivot or figure out how to navigate our way through it. And I think part of that is protecting some of that just for us. Like, if this truly is your passion, figure out a way to have part of that where nobody touches that, a place where you can go and like explore more. You can ask questions, follow curiosity, play, have fun with something where it's not tied to, well, if I do this, then that's a client project. This isn't necessarily the right avenue to do that in, or there's other expectations, or we need a place that's just ours still that feels like we can engage on a level that helps it develop and stay passionate because we're engaged, and it doesn't simply become a vehicle to then solely serve other people and where we get lost in the mix. So setting up opportunities for yourself to be sure that you're looking actively for, how do I keep this front and center for myself? How do I stay in love with this thing in small ways that I'm protecting and setting up boundaries? And the context of that is going to change from person to person. But I think it's asking yourself that question. Be curious with yourself first and say, what would it look like for me to be able to fall back in love with this thing if that's what I'm desiring? Or what would it look like for me to pivot away from this thing because maybe it was adjacent to something that I really want to do, but wasn't really on target. And it's the bridge that leads me to the next thing, which is actually where I need to be.
Yeah, you mentioned pivots. Like, you can do whatever you want.
Exactly.
It's your thing, right? A lot of the times when we talk about passion, like I know for a fact that I'm passionate about what I do, but I still have my own thing that it's not business related because I want something for myself. It's like that fine line. Like, yes, I turn my passion into my business, but I still have another passion over here that I don't need to change into a business. But if you're whatever you're doing and you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. Yeah, go ahead, pivot, like do what is best for you. Do what you need to do to succeed and grow within yourself too.
Yeah. I think it's a tragedy thinking everything has to be a side hustle, because while that sounds good on the front end, when you're in the middle of that, that's actually a nightmare, because then there is nothing that is just solely yours. And I'm a firm believer in passion projects. A lot of that came from my own experience of working in a staff position, being a designer, creating all day long for everybody else, getting home, realizing I haven't really done anything that was expressing what I want to express. That's certainly not the right avenue to do that. But now I'm exhausted. I have no more energy left at the end of the day. And I'm feeling kind of frustrated because I don't have an outlet for that. And I go, shrug my shoulders and go, well, now it's late. I got to go to bed. I got to get up and do this all over again tomorrow. And so you can find yourself on this hamster wheel of frustration where you're never engaging with that part of yourself, yet it's always there kind of going, hey, pay attention to me, please. And if we don't make the time for passion projects, what eventually happens is, like for me, I got burned out. And I was like, this is not working. I think I need to just leave this altogether for a while, because this is not the experience that I wanted to have. I thought it was take my skill and my creativity and use that to make a living. That would be the finish line for me. Like, yes, I've done it. I've arrived, so to speak. That wasn't it. That's part of it, but that's not the whole of it. And I think when we don't have something just for ourselves, we rob ourselves of the opportunity for that passion, for self-discovery, for really developing some ideas and interests in a kind of incubator that is protected from a lot of the outside voices and constraints that we normally face in our day-to-day.
What else? Like anything that you can do outside of your business, as creativity, your passion, whatever, like your hobbies, the skills that you learn from all that, you can apply to your own business.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's why your personal and your professional development, it's all connected. It's this huge circle because, yes, somebody can enjoy doing X, Y, and Z, but what kind of skills have you learned with your hobby that you can bring onto your business?
Absolutely.
I think that's a good point to touch on. And I feel like we've talked about it before, but it's been a while. But have any of your hobbies, specifically, Mike, played a role in your business journey that you'd be willing to share, that you didn't turn into a business?
That I didn't turn into a business. Certainly, there have been periods of my life where I've had certain creative expressions come to the foreground, because I'm kind of the multi-creative interest person. In my 20s, I was very heavily into music and playing music and had a band and just went all in on that. And that had nothing to do with what I was doing for a living. And it was just something I was passionate about and something I enjoyed, and learning about how do you play well with others, right? Like I wasn't a sports guy growing up, still not a sports guy. And so for me to learn the ability to co-create with people and have a sense where like, wow, we're on stage and we're creating something together in this moment. And it's not ever going to be exactly the same. That moment is that moment. Those are important lessons to learn and things to experience. And so I think certainly music, I don't play my guitar nearly as much as I should these days, even in just sitting around and kind of like, hey, let me pick up the guitar and just strum. And some of that is my own excuses of I've moved and things are still kind of here, there, and everywhere. But that's one thing. I think there are blurry lines, certainly for me, more so in terms of visual art, because it was graphic design. Certainly that was my livelihood. But then my personal journey of actually going and exploring, like, aside from design, what do I want to create that's more the illustration, fine art stuff, the self-expression? What are the things I'm interested in? That was all passion projects that then turned into some other things that were part of my business. But there are still moments where I'm drawing something or doing something and it's just for me, where I'm not interested in selling it. I'm not interested in necessarily even posting it online. It's not about that. It's really more about me connecting with myself. That may change from season to season or depending upon what I'm leaning into at the moment. But I think that part of What are you keeping for yourself? How are you using it to connect with yourself and check in with yourself? Certainly is something that is a part of my regular rhythm. I also journal a lot. And while writing has certainly been something that I have employed for business purpose and writing a book and some other things that I do, but journaling, I know, is a different type of writing. And that is just me checking in with myself, getting things out of my head and onto a page so that I can kind of examine and go, okay, here's what's happening inside of me right now. Here's the things that I need to process through. And it's giving myself a place to be able to do that.
That is a great way to get your thoughts out. I have notebooks upon notebooks full of stuff that are just there. Like you were saying, we need that creative outlets to help us with everything. And I find that to be very important because as business owners, as entrepreneurs, whatever title you want to give yourself, like you need to figure out a way to pour into yourself.
Yes.
And not just work. I mean, obviously it is your passion. That's what you love to do, but you need to figure out like what else you can do to pour into that as well.
I am not a writer by any means. And so typically what I end up doing is recording myself venting or rambling on about something I'm super excited and passionate about. That's usually, if you see my face on our Instagram, it's because I'm super excited or loving the topic. If not, I let Sarah take control. But if I'm angry or upset, I usually record myself, vent, get it out of my system, and then I'll delete it.
That's a good way to do it too.
So it doesn't accidentally get posted. Yeah. It doesn't cause a potential argument. It's off of my shoulders. It's out of my body. And then we move on about our day or week.
Whatever works for you.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
Everybody has their way to do it. But it's so funny when you're talking about like recording yourself to do that. Like I can't even look at myself. Like when I'm recording something, no, I don't want to watch myself.
Fair enough. So I love all of the things that we've been talking about with like tapping into creativity and how it can apply both personally and professionally, and the many, many soft skills that we touched on today. So for anyone that's listening, how can they get connected with you?
The easiest and best way is if you just go to my website, which is mikebrennan.me, M-E. And from there are links and tabs out to all the things, whether it's my books, whether it's my artwork. I have a community, Daily Creative Habit, which there's a free Facebook group. And then I also send out an email every Monday that gives some inspiration and then also some application. I'm giving people some specific prompts. If they're looking for something that's like, I need to just get in touch with my creativity, but I don't really know what that can look like. They need some suggestions because just being creative, quote, right? That's too large. I give some things to try. And so people can go and engage with that and get that on a weekly basis. And again, that's free too. So mikebrennan.me. I'd love to connect with anyone who's looking to really tap into their creativity.
Perfect.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mike, for being with us today. It was definitely fun having this conversation. As always, all of our information is going to be in our show notes. Until next time, bye.
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 Thanks for tuning in to another episode. Remember, soft skills aren't just some fluffy buzzwords that get thrown around in the corporate world. They're the key to unlocking your full potential as a professional and a human being. Don't be afraid to invest in yourself and seek out opportunities to improve your soft skills. Sarah and I have a variety of workshops, online courses, and complimentary clarity calls for you to practice in real time with us. Links are always in the show notes. And be sure to join us next time for more insights, tips, and tricks to help you succeed in your entrepreneur encounter.